Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone's doing great and enjoying their Friday evening. And I have a wonderful brother today who we're going to be talking. He's going to be going over his story, journey to Islam, inshallah. So I'm not going to go too much into details because I really want to bring him into the studio. So let's welcome him. And he's going to introduce himself. Okay, let's bring him on. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So,
How are
brother,
you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. So, introduce yourself first, brother. Because I didn't want to introduce your name. I thought let you introduce your name. I'll give you that pleasure.
All right, all right. Thank you. Jazakallahu khairan for that. I am Brother Mikhail. I am an Italian American revert. I reverted a few months ago.
Mashallah, mashallah. So introduce yourself, like where do you live, what you do. So like not you don't have to give the exact location just for the privacy purposes. We're not gonna give the location, but just give a little bit where you're from.
All right, all right. Yeah, I didn't want to dive too far into it. I didn't know if you wanted me to give the whole book and everything. So I am from Boston, Massachusetts, technically Dorchester, in the United States. And my family, as I said, I'm Italian. So I was, raised Catholic. And the Italian family that I'm from, I'm Sicilian and Calabrese. So Siciliano and Calabrese. Um, and I was raised in a very Catholic upbringing, so to speak.
Oh wow. Okay.
All my family's Catholic still in time, inshallah. You know.
Inshallah, inshallah. I actually came I think one of your video came into my recommendation page, and that's how I found you. I was like, this brother looks really interesting. I really want to bring him into the studio and do the podcast. So thank you so much for giving me your time. I know we've been backward and forward with the messaging, but finally we made it, and thank you so much. So yeah, so going into now, I'm gonna come back to your story. So explain me a little bit. How did you actually find Islam?
So, as I said, I grew up in the inner city. And with that being said, there was a lot of mixed cultures growing up. So I had, a couple of my best friends were Muslim. And I remember this was my first introduction to Islam when I was like 6, 7 years old. And I remember going over their house and their parents being like, okay, it's time to pray. And they would have to leave. And I remember going to the bathroom and walking by and seeing them praying and, you know, doing the sajud and everything. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, we don't do this at my house. So that was my first introduction. And then jumping ahead, right? It wasn't until, I don't know, really this past 4 years, I went on a spiritual journey, so to speak. I, I say it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala getting me ready um, for my revert and reciting the shahada. So I stopped drinking, I stopped partying, going to clubs, going to bars, the whole scene. I just, something in me, really, it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling me this isn't right. It's time to make a change. And slowly but surely, throughout that first year, I grew very close. My relationship with what I called God at that time, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, um, grew very, very strong over that year and the following year. But that first year was me, you know, really getting closer to God after being away from Him for so long, being, a victim to the dunya. And then it was like just out of nowhere, I'm like, after a year, I said, I need to do some more research because I already know Catholicism's out the window. I walked away from that when I was 12. So I went on like a journey, and I don't know how much you want me to give away right now. If you want
Give
me to
away,
wait.
I mean, when did you start? Like, as I told you, like, go back, really, take me really back into the time when you really discovered Islam and you really wanted to, like, this is it. This is
Okay,
now or never.
I got you. I got you. Can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
sure why. I can hear myself.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's the echo, but we can hear you perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, I can hear myself in the headphone. It was like messing with me.
Okay. Maybe on your side you need to cancel the echoes. Echo there's a button called echo cancellation.
In the more maybe settings.
It's in the setting.
Okay, audio echo perfect. Oh,
Oops.
there goes the camera.
We all good. Okay, we lost you. Are you there, brother? We lost you. Okay, we seem to lost brother, so I'm sure he'll sign back in. So here we are. I think he's gonna sign back in. Let's see. Um, Hi, can you hear me, brother? Hello. Okay, we seem to lost him. I'm sure he's gonna come back up. And so, just wanted to know how everyone is doing. Are you guys enjoying your Friday evening? It's around 10 past 9 here in London, and it's been really, really cold. Although we're in May, but it's very cold. I mean, you could just can't trust the weather in UK sometimes. So hopefully the brother will come back. So in the meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can write down your questions. So when brother come back into the studio, we could ask him later. Okay, I'm just waiting for brother. Let me see if he messaged me on my phone. I'm just gonna check my phone. Okay, I think he seems to be having some problem. I'm gonna check 1 second. So, does anyone have any questions for brother later? He's just typing on Instagram. Okay, so he's in backstage setting. So he's setting up. It's gonna take him a few minutes. So in the meanwhile, as I said, if anyone have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Where is everyone? I don't see many people live here. So where is everyone? Yep, he's setting up. So I'm just gonna go through some questions. Um, so I'm gonna say Assalamu alaikum Muhammad Salman, I think. Yeah. Wa alaikum assalam. Name Anjum. Wa alaikum assalam. Um, there is one comment. I think it might be in French. Sorry, I don't speak French or I can't really read French. Um, okay, sorry guys. I'm still waiting for him to come back to me. I think maybe he's having some issues with his side of StreamYard. Okay, here we are.
Got me?
Hi, finally we got you
Alhamdulillah.
back.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I'm like, oh no, I lost it. I got booted.
Here we are.
When I
Okay,
dropped it, I think I might have clicked something, like trying to grab my phone while it fell.
okay, no worries. We're finally here. Alhamdulillah. Can you still hear the echo or is fine?
Yeah, you know what it is? Do you have me coming through your speakers?
Oh, really?
Do you have me on your speakers right now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I can hear myself on your side.
Okay. But it's all good. It's all good. Just bear with it
I,
for a
I'll bear
moment.
with it. I'll bear with it. I'll be good. Don't
Next
worry. Don't
time,
worry.
next time, I think what we do, we'll go over the whole setting.
It's that's. I apologize, everybody.
That's
That's my
okay.
sister Navira. That's my fault. Rookie
That's o-
mistake.
that's okay. So do you want this layout or do you want this layout? I think this is better.
Whatever you want, sister.
Okay,
It's I'm
yeah,
fine.
this
I'm
is
fine
better.
either way.
Okay, good. So where were we? So we were talking
Back
about
to.
your back
Sorry.
to take me back to the beginning.
Yes. So, like I said, those 4 years. I need to say that first so you understand where I was coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the second year of those 4 years, I went, started looking to all different religions. I already swore off Christianity. I said, you know, through the time I went through uh, Catholic school and Christian school and on Sundays, right? And they made us read Bibles. I was like, yeah, I see the fraudulence here, all the forgeries. I couldn't sign on to it anymore. So then I started looking into Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, all the isms, and
Okay.
I was like, all right, none of these fit me because I believe in one God, and these are all pagan religions for the most part. Buddhism to me was more of a consciousness than a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I found Islam, and this was 2 years ago. So, my halfway mark over the 4 years. And as soon as I start reading it, right, because let me jump back real quick. One of the things that was my biggest thing with Christianity and Catholicism was the Holy Trinity. I never believed it even when I was Catholic. I couldn't
Okay.
believe how three were one or one were three. It made no sense to me,
Mm.
right? Because God is a supreme, almighty, a human being cannot be God. Therefore, Jesus, peace be upon him, cannot be God. You see what I mean? There's so
Mm-hmm.
many things as far as that goes. That's a whole nother conversation we can have another time. But yeah, once I started realizing that there was, Islam, it was one God, La ilaha illallah, and no association of partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Um, and then I really, when I got into Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I was blown away, right? You know, he was so inspirational. Everything that I read about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, um, really, I say this all the time in my videos. He is my biggest role model, and if I can be a fraction, just a percentage of the man that he was, I know I'm doing something right. So I try to follow his hadith. as best as I can. I'm still learning. I'm only 3 months in, but
mashallah.
you know,
Brother, I think we're all students, even though I'm born Muslim and I'm still learning. We learn each day, we learn every day. So, Alhamdulillah, I'm so, I get so happy. I get really like positive, motivated feeling every time when somebody come into Islam. It just gives me a different, I get goosebumps. I'm not gonna lie, I get goosebumps.
Alhamdulillah,
So,
so
yeah,
beautiful.
mashallah. So, like, after once so did you say you converted in January? Did you say that?
January
January.
26th, 2023. My new
Wow,
birthday.
your new birthday. So, did you fast this year then?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
So, how was that experience?
Um, Mashallah, it was my first time ever fasting to begin with. So I remember telling my mother, and she's a school teacher. So she
Okay.
said, she was a school teacher in the city, and she said, I taught so many, of my students are Muslim. She told me. So she says, they'd be so tired during Ramadan, and are you really ready for this? I said, Mom, I'm so excited. I cannot wait, inshallah. And then she said, well, at least you can drink water. At least that's one thing. I'm like, no, Mom, when fasting means no drink, no nothing, we cannot digest anything. And she's like, no, 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 this is not right. You're not going to be okay. I'm like, like this is how Italian mothers are. So I'm like, no, Ma, trust me, I'll be all right. And inshallah. So that first night, setting it off, a brother invited me to his home with his family, and mashallah, it was so wonderful, breaking fast and having iftar with them for my first time. We had a huge, huge setup, um, and it was the perfect way to break it in for me. Now, I want to say like the first week, I was super, super motivated. My energy was so high. And by the second week, I started to feel what everybody was saying. They're like, okay, you're going to start losing energy. Um, Probably a few days in, and it didn't take until like, I don't know, like I said, like halfway through the second week. But mashallah, it was wonderful. It really was.
MashaAllah. So now I'm gonna go back to your experience when you actually took the Shahada.
Mm.
So explain me word to word. When I say word to word, I want to get into the nitty gritty of the experience. How was the whole experience when you took your Shahada?
1 second, sister. I just want to see something right here with the camera. Change it. There we go. That's what I wanted. Yeah, that's better. All right, there we go. When I look at it and it's not on mirror, it looks so weird to me. My face feels like distorted and everything. Like,
You
just
look
being
good. You
honest.
look fine. Alhamdulillah, you look fine.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallahu khairan. So, um, I'm sorry. What did you ask me? I just lost myself for a second there.
So tell me word to word your experience, your actual experience. What did you feel when you took your Shahada?
Um, I'm sorry. I get like choked up when I start thinking about it, like goosebumps, like you said. Um, so that night, you want like the whole how it
Yeah.
started?
Word to word.
Okay,
Everything.
okay. So the night before, right? This is when I was like full fledged. I'm like, okay, for the first time, I'm like, I want to go to a masjid. I want to find a mosque that's near me. So I look it up on the internet and I find two that are like within 10 minutes from me. And one of them just popped out to me more than anything for some reason. And that's the one I chose. And there was a number on the website. It's like 8:30 at this time. And at that point in time, the Salatul Isha was at 7 o'clock, like right at 7. So I called at 8:30 and I'm trying to come there right now. Like I'm telling the brother I want to come I want to come there right away. Oh damn. 1 second. My charger got unplugged. I can't have that happen. All right, so I called a brother, and what felt like a 5 minute conversation was an hour and 52, 53 minute conversation. The
Wow.
excitement going back and forth between him and myself, you could feel the energy through the phone. Like that's how strong this was. And
Oh
when I
wow.
look back on this, like it was this, I don't even know how to explain the amount of energy that came over me when I called him, because I was like something overtook me and was like I need to call him right now. I need to go to the masjid ASAP. So on the phone, and then I asked him, can I come now? He says no. He says, can you come by tomorrow? We have prayer at 7. Show up 5, 10 minutes before prayer. I said perfect, right? So I wanted to show him that I was super motivated. So I showed up 45, 50 minutes early. So it was like
Right.
6:10, 6:15. He's already waiting outside. This brother's waiting outside for me, even though he said show up 5 minutes beforehand. He's waiting outside with the biggest smile on his face. I hopped out of my car, and right away he says, at that time I was going by the name I was given from birth, which is Michael. It was an easy change for me. I was named after Saint Michael the Archangel from the Bible, which is Angel Mikhail in the Quran.
Mikhail.
So I said that's an easy change for me. Plus, I actually like Mikhail way better than Michael. Um, so he all excited. He embraces me with the like. I can't even explain the warmth that I got from him. And if you were to go, so this, I say this all the time when people ask me like, how was it compared to the religion you were brought up in? So if you were to come into a Catholic church for the first time, saying that you wanted to convert to Catholicism or stuff like that, right? People in there would look at you like you had 6 heads just because you were different, right? People in my old church, like, and that is not just my church, my old church, that was every church I ever went into. There was so much judgment, not just upon, outsiders, but everybody. I've never felt that once since entering a masjid. And
MashaAllah.
mashallah, it's a feeling that can't be explained except for the love of Allah subhanahu wa
It's
ta'ala.
one ummah, all brothers and sisters under one roof. Under one umbrella.
Exactly.
So yeah, and so yeah, that's why every time when somebody comes into the fold of Islam, they feel like that. So yeah,
Mashallah.
mashallah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling. It truly is. It's really a feeling that it can't really be expressed in words. Like unless you have felt it, you just like what I'm saying. If you felt it. If you haven't, you won't know until you really feel it. There's no better way to say it than that.
It's
Um,
like you said, you're like a complete different person. You're born again.
hmm Absolutely. It was my rebirth.
Rebirth.
You
And
know.
that's exactly what happens when somebody comes into the fold of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all their past sins. So you're like a
Mm.
baby.
Yeah, the sheikh who I recited the shahada with, he told me that, and he was like, telling me all my sins were removed. Like you just said, from this day forward, you start at zero. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, all your past sins are gone. So you are like fresh as fresh can be. He said, although I'm born and I've been raised Muslim my whole life, I wish I was where you are. And I'm like, how can you say that? I wish I was where you are, you've been raised this your whole life. And he said, brother, trust me, you know what it's like on the other side. I only know this. So you appreciate this more than I do because this is all I know. That's the way he put it for me.
When
And
you're like talking about it, I'm still getting goosebumps. Seriously, subhanallah. Oh my God, it's just a different
subhanallah.
feelings.
Mm,
So yeah.
it's beautiful. MashaAllah. Um, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, please.
Okay, okay. So from that point, we enter the masjid, as I said, and at this point in time, it was only, that the brother who brought me to who, I walked in the masjid with, and then the imam, the sheikh who was there, and he still to this day is, there are two of them that are like my biggest mentors, and he's one of the biggest ones. So I walk over, we sit down, we're in like a triangle, and the three of us are just talking. Really, the imam is talking, and I'm just listening, and I'm taking it all in. I'm so excited, right? So fast forward, and it comes to time to pray, and he says to me, brother, go sit. You can go sit in the back, and then after we're done praying, if you have any more questions, just ask. So, inshallah, I looked at him and I'm like, well, can I pray with you? So he says, do you know what that means? I'm sorry, I get like choked up when I talk about this class. So he says, do you know what that means? And I just looked at him, right? I didn't say anything, but I had this big smirk on my face, and I just stared at him, right? And do this, and then the next answer, it was like I was looking at my body from a third perspective, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was speaking through me. So he says, okay, brother, I want you to understand, this means that you're ready to become Muslim. Um, are you sure you're ready to make that step? And I just, I looked down and I looked up at him and I said, brother, I believe that's why I'm here. I'm ready. And my first time ever in the masjid, I recited my shahada, recited the shahada, and he, all I hear is everybody, like all the people and everyone that had came into the masjid. I forgot to say this. Every single person came into the masjid. They walked up to me, shook my hand, gave me a hug, and this was something I'm not used to, and I loved it. Absolutely loved the fellowship that I was feeling there, and I love it still. So
So did everyone say takbir?
yes, yes. So
Oh my
everybody,
god, that the
Allahu
takbir
Akbar.
bit. Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Even
Alhamdulillah.
I get so emotional every time when I hear takbir.
Hmm. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Absolutely beautiful.
And even more so afterwards, after I recited the Shahada, when I came back out, then it was even like more like the whole building. I felt like shook, like I could feel it like that. So he takes me back and he says, "All right, I recite the Shahada first in Arabic and then in English." And that whole time, Sheikh said to me afterwards, he was like, I hope you understand that you are like vibrating, like you have this aura about you right now. I can't even explain it in words like before. Like it's the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was so clear in that moment. And even more so, the next thing he had me do, which was the wudu, right? And he explains it to me as, ablution. He says, you know what that is, right? Like a baptism, of course, right? So he explains, we do this before every salah, before every prayer. And, he explains to me what I have to do. So I start with my hands 3 times, each arm up to the elbow 3 times, and, gargle the water 3 times, the nose 3 times, splash my water on my face. And then when I go to my hair, right, the second to last one before my feet, I go to my hair. And now, when I come back over the front of my eyes with the water, by the time my hands pass my eyes are tearing up. Like this emotions just overtook me at that point in time. And the way I was raised, especially growing up in the city, and with my father being raised in a military household, it was men don't show emotion, men don't cry. Um, and there was one um, story from my childhood that like sticks out more than anything was we were at the playground, and as we are walking into the playground, I'm with my father, and a kid trips and falls in front of us right as we walked in, and the kid starts hysterically crying. My dad grabs me by the shirt and he says, "You see that that P word?" right? He said, I'm raising a man. I'm not raising any here. And I'm like, okay. So from that point on, it was like, okay, we don't show tears, nothing, right? In that moment, it was just joy, happiness, love came over me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And
MashaAllah.
then he says to me, right, this is after a long day of working all day. Then he says to me, okay, right, now take off your socks. And I just looked at him like, what do you mean take off my socks? He's like, yeah, now take off your socks. You got to wash your feet. And I'm looking at him like, where do you expect me to wash my feet? The sink's up to my chest. He's like, yeah, in the sink. I'm like, okay. So I take off my socks and he's holding his hand out. I'm like, you sure you want to wear the socks I was in all day? Like, hold the socks I was in? He's like, yeah, it's fine. So the first time I lift my foot up to put my foot in the sink, I nearly fall back and crack my head. That would have been a great story on the first time. But then after that, I go back out there. Well, first off, as soon as I finished wudu, the embrace from the sheikh was unbelievable. In that moment, like it just, mashallah, it's so beautiful. Allahu Akbar. Um,
Wow.
it was amazing. It really was.
It's a very touching, emotional feeling.
Mm,
As I said, every time whoever I have interviewed in the past, I get the same feeling. No matter what, how many times I do this, it's the same feeling.
mashallah. It's
Subhanallah,
beautiful.
subhanallah. So after when you your conversion, so it's been
Hmm.
almost 3 months. So how do you feel your life has changed?
Immensely. You know, I say when I people ask me about that day, I explain it as the greatest day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 31 years old. Um, if I were to shave my beard, I look like I'm 18. But through the 30 some years of my life so far, 31 years, for me to say that that moment was the greatest day of my life is very strong for me to say. Because I'm not the type of person that just says something just to say it. Um, that moment, I wish. I don't wish. I mean, I would love to experience that feeling over and over again, but the feeling I get every day as I continue to grow, and the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to grow in me. Um, every day just gets better. And I was talking to one of my mentors, the sheikh, and I was telling him, although we have bad days, we're human beings. We have good days, bad days, sad, happy, angry, whatever. We go through emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Even the days that I have that are bad, they're 100 times better than the good days that I had from before. Even my worst day now is way better than my best day before. And what I mean by that is, even in the bad days that I have, and when I call them a bad day, I'm saying that I'm faced with, you know, tough times or whatever, what have you, like ending up in a hospital, or, you know, something bad happens to a family member, whatever it may be, or a friend. It's a challenge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, one, either test the strength of my deen, to strengthen my deen, to either, is he seeing if I'm going to walk away or if I'm going to get closer. So I see it as, you know, most of all, me strengthening my deen and growing closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And
So,
every single time I talk to a fellow Muslim, I feel the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even more so, you know.
mashallah. So, one thing you just have to remember, Allah tests those who He loves the most.
Mm,
So,
mashallah.
So if you're going through any hardships or any tests, that means that's Allah's way of telling you or whoever that I want you to come closer to me. That's why I've given you a little bit of test and hardship in this life. So this life isn't perfect. This life is only temporary. So yeah,
Yeah,
subhanallah.
yeah, subhanallah. Um, what you were just saying, right? My father, he used to say in times that now I don't know if you've heard any of my videos of me talking about my dad. You know that
Mm,
uh, like I have a very close relationship. Well, since becoming Muslim, um, it's caused a little friction, but I know he still loves me. I will always love my father and my mother for that matter. But I say that just because my father, out of my father and mother, now my parents are divorced. Um, my mother is very Catholic, right? Very Catholic. My father, on the other hand, he is. If you were to ask him, he'd say he's Catholic, but I couldn't tell you the last time he's ever been to church. I've never seen him go to church. I've never seen him pray really. Um, but and I say that now because of what I'm going to tell you. So my dad would always say when I was going through something tough, very similar to what you just said. He would say, God gives um, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. That's the line. My father would always say that to me. Coming from a guy who's really not, I mean, he's a very good-hearted person. Always likes to do good for others, but when it comes to praying and that kind of stuff, that's what I mean.
well, well, you never know if you keep giving your dawah. Who knows? One day, maybe,
Inshallah,
inshallah.
inshallah. Make
Yeah.
dua for me, for
Inshallah,
him, and my
inshallah.
mother.
So, yeah, coming to this question now. So, how did your parents react it the first time when you told them?
So I'll start with my mother first. My mom, um, it was kind of funny because like a few days, maybe like 2 days before I called the masjid, the brother at the masjid, I was talking to my mother and I asked her, hypothetically, I said, Mom, hypothetically speaking, how would you feel if I were to, you know, convert to another religion? And she said, as long as you were happy, I'd be happy, right? So I said, so if I were to convert to Islam, you'd be okay with this. And she said, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. I I love you, so I'm happy. So I'm like, all right, I got my mom on my side at least. I didn't ask my dad because I figured, my dad really, he's just kind
No.
of like, it is what it is kind of thing. Like he believes in God, a holy creator, but he just, we'll see in time, inshallah. So, I waited like, I don't know, I waited like 5 days before I even told them.
Okay.
So, I know, yeah, it was like 4 or 5 days. And then I'm talking to my sheikh and I told him, or he asked me, he said, have you told your parents yet? And I was like, not yet. I'm kind of, nervous of how they're going to react. And he said, you can't keep them waiting. You have to let them know. Sooner or later, it's going to come out. And you'd rather it be now than a year down the road of you like hiding it or something, right? So it wasn't even, it was to the point that if they would have asked me if they had seen something or heard from somebody, I would have gladly told them. So I wasn't like, I wouldn't have lied about my belief. But I finally tell my mother, and she thinks I'm joking. My mom thought I was like joking at first. And I'm like, Mom, you know me, and you know that I'm not one to joke about these kind of things. So I'm serious. And she was just like kind of in shock at first. she didn't know how to take it, and she just asked questions for like a few minutes, and then she just said, she was visiting my sister at the time, and she just said, "I gotta help your sister with something. I'll give you a call back later."
Mm-hmm.
So the next day comes and she calls me and she's crying, and I'm like, "Mom, what's going on?" She said, "How could you do this? You know, we have so many memories together. Does this must mean that we're never going to be able to spend Christmas together or Easter or all these, religious holidays?" And I'm like, "Ma, honestly, at that point in time, I didn't know what. I was like, I don't know what to tell you about this because I don't know enough about it. I was like, I don't know if I can or can't." Of course, I found out later that, religious holidays, I definitely can't. Um, I was told Thanksgiving is kind of like but all of the memories, my mom was like, all the memories we have, I'm never going to be able to make more memories with you. Oh, she's like, I'm not going to be able to make more memories with you and family for this. Um, and she started crying again. And I was like, Mom, please just understand, I love you more than life itself. You are my mother. I will always love you. And please, like, I stress to her more than anything that Islam teaches me, teaches us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is number one, and then number two is our parents. And it goes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then our mother, our mother, our mother, and then father. That's the way I was told.
Yeah.
So when, like, how important our mother is to us, and that we must love, respect, obey our parents. So my mom heard that and she was like, "Okay, well, obey me." And I'm like, "Mom, this is the one thing that I am the only thing I'm allowed to disobey you on is if you try to take me from my beliefs." So she said, "Are you truly happy?" And I said, "Mom, I've never been happier." And she said, "Well, this is a very big change, so it's going to take some time. I just want you to understand that." And I was like, "Okay." And then it went kind of back and forth for a little bit where I got in a group text. I got a group text from my mother and my father at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, let me jump to my dad real quick so I can bring that back. So I tell my dad, and he's just like, at first he was just like, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. You know, I already know at this point in my life that I can't stop you, so you're gonna do what you want to do. So that is what it is. And then he calls me back 5 minutes later, and he's flipping out. So same thing as my mother did. It was okay, and then boom, like as he thought about it more, he just went off. Because it's sad to say, like I said, my parents are divorced, and I would spend more time with my father during the holidays than my older sister and little brother.
Mm-hmm.
So he felt like he was losing, the one child that was always with him on the holidays. So I understood where his anger came from and his sadness, but he, with time, well, matter of fact, let me say this first. I'm like, I know it's kind of hard to follow. I'm all over the place. If you can't tell, I have ADHD.
No, you
uh,
don't.
no, right?
No.
Um, so I get a group text from both of them, and the first thing it says is, "So Easter weekend's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that you're not coming to spend time with either of us." And this is
Right.
my mom. And I'm like, "Ma, I told you earlier, like a couple weeks ago, that when it comes to religious holidays, especially Easter and Christmas, I can't even be around you on those days. That's how I was taught." Um, I've heard other rulings on that, that I could eat with them, and then some people say no. Most of the people say no because what that meal represents. So that's the way I understand it. Um, and then after that, but my dad answers. He chimes in, and he's like, "This is BS." You know, at this point in time, I basically lost my son, and they both pretty much swore me off. Like, told me that I was like no longer part of the family. So to like, and more or less, right? And at that point in time, that was very hard for me. You know, emotionally, I was going through all sorts of things. And now, this was one of the rough times when the next morning when I woke up, I had like, I had it was like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to me and told me that this is a test. I'm testing the strength of your deen. Now, are you going to strengthen your deen or are you going to run? And
Mm-hmm.
I grew stronger. That's, this means so much to me, and I know the love and the happiness that I feel from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and all of you, like all of my Muslim brothers and sisters. It's mashallah. It's more amazing than anything.
Mashallah. So would you say that you're telling accept your for your parents to accept this has been the most challenging thing so far?
For them,
Yeah. I mean for you as well because obviously you feel emotionally I think distant, would you say?
I've went through some rough paths. I've went down some wrong roads in my life, but when it comes to, like I said, 30 years of your life that I've lived, and then just everything completely changes where I can't do everything that I used to do anymore. Like, you know, and for me, the way I was always raised, and my father was very, very motivating to me in this way that he always told me, right, if you're going to do something, you give your 110% because if you're going to slack and not give all of your potential, why even do it? So that's how I felt about Islam. And I wasn't going to give up one thing and not the other. I gave up everything. Whatever they told me to do that I had to do right from the beginning. And it's been, like you said, every day is a learning experience
It's a
because there's
learning
so much knowledge.
experience.
But yeah, it's
And
definitely been times have been tough at times, but Alhamdulillah, it's a beautiful
Alhamdulillah.
thing.
You have to remember it's only been few months. So, give yourself some time. Always pat yourself on the shoulder. You done well. You're getting there.
Jazakallahu khairan.
So yeah, so my last few questions I'll ask you. So if anyone who's listening to this or anyone from your circle maybe who wants to come closer to Islam, but they may be thinking, should we or should I not? Because they've heard so many things in the media which is absolutely not true
Mm.
as we know. So, what would you say to them?
It's a good question because this is one of the things that always, it really bothered me when I really started learning the truth because I'm sure you're in the UK. It's very similar mindset to America, the Western world, really, and here especially, you know, back when 9/11 happened. That's when people hear Islam or Muslims, first thing they think of is 9/11, and it's sad that that's the way it is, right? Because as I did my research through these 2 years, I was like, okay, well, there's about the population of Muslims is about 2 billion, and the radical Muslim population is less than 1%. So think about that. That less than 1% out of that 2 billion are the ones responsible for that, and they're blaming that. a little group of what that little group of people did on everybody, it
Mm.
makes no sense, right?
Mm.
It's
Mm.
kind of like when you're in a relationship with somebody, or for in my past life, obviously now I can't no relationships, it's just marriage. But if you're in a marriage or relationship with somebody, and the person that you're with, right, they see no matter how many good things you do for them, they always see that one bad thing. They always remember the one bad thing you did. And that's how that sticks out to me. That's exactly what it reminds me of. And like I said earlier, the welcoming that I got when I walked into the masjid. And it wasn't just being in the masjid, it was the Muslim brothers, the Muslim community itself. And even since I've came online, I probably can count on one hand the amount of negative comments that I've gotten. Seriously, if you look at my videos, almost all of those comments are all positive. Every once in a while, you'll see one negative one from somebody of a different belief, but
Mm.
it's and that's to me is inspirational in and of itself, right? And there's so many things as far as Islam, and this was one of the things that I forgot to mention early on, which drew me to it, right? As I did my research, was as I started reading more and more, I'm like, okay, you know, Islam is one God, the core values, the principles, they stand for their family, they stand by their beliefs, right? And when something happens in Islam, right? As far like I'll use this as an example. In Christianity, in the Catholic Church, and I'm using this as an example because this is what I knew. This is my past life. There are all these different versions of the Bible, right? And people say the Bible. I don't say the Bible. I say the Bibles because there's not. I mean, there is one, but it's hidden somewhere, probably under the Vatican. They don't want the public to see it because they realize that what Muslims have been saying for the past 1400 something years has been the truth. Um,
So what?
1400,
They're like
1600.
different
Did I get that wrong?
versions. So what? They're different versions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. From the Old Testament, the New Testament, the King
Okay.
James Bible, the Revised King James Bible, the NIT. There are a bunch of different ones, and this was when I was younger, when I was sent to Sunday school. That in the class, right, and there would be a bishop and a priest. The priest would come in from time to time. Right, I've read the Bible. I've read a few of the Bibles, like once or twice, and I remember the first time going through one of the Bibles after I read one of the other ones. And I'm looking and I'm like, wait, this wasn't in the last one. And how come this one is missing something from the last one? So I went to the same spot in this one, in one of them, as right. I had them both side by side, and there was stuff added in this one
Mm.
and stuff that was removed from this one. So if the scriptures are supposed to be the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the word of God, right? How is it that a human being is changing these words over time? This never sat right with me. And I noticed this at like 8, 9, 10 years old. And I remember the first time I noticed it, I asked the bishop. And then when he gave me the same answer, or when he gave me an answer, I asked the priest, and the priest gave me the same answer. Now, what I asked him, I questioned him on the same thing I'm bringing up right now. And both of them said to me, literally almost like word for word, um, we don't ask these questions. And I'm like, what do you mean we don't ask these questions? And I said, God, right at that time, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a brain for a reason. He gave us problem solving skills for a reason. He must want us to use it. And they both said to me, brother, you must have faith. So my response to them was, you want me to have blind faith, which is what I love so much about Islam, is that any question that I have is right there in the Quran. I mean, if you question anything, go right there in the Quran, open it up, and it's right there. There is one version of the Quran. Yes, there are different translations, but there is one version of the Quran. They can't say the same.
I think people are complaining about the echo.
Other people here too.
Mm, mm. But from my side, it feels fine. Do you hear my echo?
No, I don't hear an echo from you. It's my voice. Like I said, I think it's because when I talk, my voice is coming through your speakers and it's also going into your microphone.
Right now, yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying now. Maybe you need to cancel the echo. Hold on, let me see if I can
I
go
canceled the
into.
echo.
How does that feel now?
Let me see.
Is that any
Oh, that's
better?
better. Oh, that's better.
Is that any
That-
better?
Yeah, it's better for me. I don't hear myself anymore. That was driving me crazy. Every time you saw
Oh
me
wow.
lose my thought, every time you saw me lose my thought, it's because my voice kept like distracting me. Oh man.
Can can everyone in the chat box let me know if they can still hear the echo, or is it okay now? Can anyone let us know, please? So, um, so
Well, I
coming back
haven't even
to
been
the,
looking at the comments at all.
so let me see the comments. So what they're saying is, here we go. I'm going to show the message. So my side is fine, but from your side,
So still,
maybe.
you guys still hear an echo? I double checked to make sure the cancellation was off.
Oh, so sign
Oh, they're
my
saying yes
side
now. It's okay.
is now okay. Okay, good, good. So where were we? So now, um, so give me three good pointers. Three, just three good, just three simple pointers. You would say, yeah, this is it. I made the correct decision in my life.
Um, I mean, there's multiple for me. You know, the if you're looking for, all right, so I'm gonna use a different, of course, you have all heard me say about how happy, you know,
Mm,
becoming Muslim has made me, how happy, reverting to Islam has made me, and to me, learning the truth, right? But one of the things I feel like for a lot of the population, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are lazy, that struggle with laziness, Islam, you cannot be Muslim. You can't be Muslim and be lazy. You have to you
mm,
you have to be disciplined, right? Because there is nothing more disciplined than getting on your knees and praying 5 times a day, right? And maintaining that every single day, even in the times when you're like, oh, I don't want to get up right now, but you do it anyway. Like when I was deathly sick, and I still made sure that I got up. There were a couple
mm,
days during Ramadan that I was sick, and even when I was sick during those days, it was my first time being sick since becoming Muslim, and I made sure that I prayed throughout those days, and it felt awful because I got one eye shut, dealing with a terrible migraine headache. My throat hurts, everything. But so discipline being one thing, right? Islam can, if you're struggling with discipline, it can help you with that. Um, as far as the truth goes, right? Like I was saying
mm,
earlier, um, you know, for me, the first time that I went through the Quran, um, I felt like I solved the puzzle to life. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but that, um, that the first time I ever read it, I felt like all the answers that I had from my prior knowledge of religion, um, they were answered right there. Like I said earlier about, if you have any questions, if about the Quran or about Islam, look right there. The Quran has
mm,
every answer for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it right there. Um, also, you know, um, at that, you know, the moment in time that if you listen to any, I've heard so many other reverts and I've heard their stories as well, right? And whenever I hear their story of that moment when they recited the shahada, right? It,
mm,
like you said, it gives me goosebumps, right? And even before I became Muslim, when I would watch them, it gave me goosebumps, right?
Oh,
So I'm like,
wow.
there's something real here that is beyond my thinking. Like I can't process this. It's a feeling. It's faith, right? It's the love of
Mm,
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's greater than us. Our human minds can't fathom that level, so to speak. Um, and I'm trying to think of, 'cause there's so many to me. Um, and oh, another one, right, is that in the world today, right, one of the biggest problems that in my mind is the degenerate, degeneracy that is going on, especially in the Western world, right? Um, you have news media, right, or channels putting out like, you know, corn, right? You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Okay, I don't know if I can say that word, so I don't think I can.
mm.
So I'm gonna leave it at corn. Um, they advertise this all over the place, right? Drinking and doing drugs and all this like terrible things that they make it look like it's the good thing to do when really what they're trying to do is like you look in music videos and all you see is Satanism and all these like devilish things, right?
Yeah.
You go to Muslim countries, you do not see that, right? You can't, like, as a practicing Muslim, we don't drink, we don't do anything that is harmful to our bodies. And to me, like, that's life changing. I feel like if the whole world, which it's a huge step, and I don't know, it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but if the whole world were to become Muslim, I feel like it would solve all of the world's problems. I truly feel that way. Because you look in Muslim countries and you don't see the stuff that we're dealing with here. You don't,
Mm, mm.
right? Um, of course, feminists would come in and argue that, the women are oppressed and this, that, and the third. Do you feel oppressed? I want to ask you this. Like, how do you feel about wearing a hijab?
Oh my God, absolutely not. I myself gone through a transition. It's been 2.5 years now. I've started doing my hijab.
MashaAllah.
So, so yeah, I came from. I feel like I need to do my own podcast on this, really, because
Mm,
I need to explain my side of the story to the people as well. So I came, although I was born in a Muslim family, Muslim. I was born Muslim, but
mm,
I wasn't practicing. I was fine. I was praying. I was fasting, but I wasn't. The dressing wasn't. It was more like westernized.
mm-hmm.
Then, but now I do not feel oppressed. I feel like, oh my God, Alhamdulillah, I
MashaAllah.
was living in Jahiliyyah time.
Mm,
That I I can't explain to you. Every day and night I cry and cry and cry. God, I cannot thank you enough that you showed me in my lifetime that you brought me to the right path.
Alhamdulillah. It's,
I
it's
feel
amazing.
more I feel more content. I feel I can wear whatever. I don't need to. And I'm not oppressed. I'm surely now impressed, as they would say, "Oh, why do you have to cover your hair? Why do you have to wear what you wear?"
Mm.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I find it like 100% honest, and even when I wasn't Muslim, those the last 4 years, I always, even before that, I always found the hijab, women who wore the hijab, I found it so beautiful. I
Mm,
really did. There was this thing about the modesty that I found so beautiful. Like, if you were to take, like I've seen some YouTube channels that they do it where they'll like ask women on the side of the road, like, do you want to, or in a mall, do you want to try on a hijab, right? And they
yeah,
do. They look so much more beautiful with the hijab on than they did before.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't know what it is. I
absolutely,
really don't. I mean, it's
absolutely.
it's amazing. It really is. And the fact that they think of it as oppressed, it's crazy. Because I heard this from, I forget whose channel or what video I watched, but a woman said that, like, why do the sisters have to wear the hijab, right? They're they're oppressed, they're being forced. And the person was like, well, you're being oppressed. She was like, how am I being oppressed? She's like, he said, um, you and all the other women of the world today, you are being oppressed by the media because what you see on TV, all the supermodels, all this,
Mm,
that, and the third, right? What they wear and how they get Botox and button plants and all this stuff.
yeah,
You all want to look like Mrs. Incredible, and you look like a cartoon character. Like, it's not attractive. It really isn't. When women getting these like
absolutely.
big lip injections, looking like a frog, like it's not attractive. Even them big like eyelashes like that a lot of these women wear nowadays. It's
Mm,
I don't understand. Like, I thought that they, like, in their mind, I feel like they do this because they think that men find it attractive. I'd say
no,
95 or 99% of us don't like it at all. It's
no.
crazy.
I
It's
think
crazy.
you're right. You correctly said that these women, I find them impressed because they're actually following everyone.
Yeah,
The
they're victims of
media, the
dunya.
fashion, the beauty. I mean, me coming from a beauty background, I worked with a huge name in the beauty back in the days, and my totally attire was completely different. And yeah, I was following the fashion and everything. I was up to date with my fashion, but this is what I'm not right now.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, I am so grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank God He showed me in my lifetime.
MashaAllah. How much better do you feel, honestly?
I feel so content, brother. I cannot tell you. I feel, the genuine happiness?
Mm,
That's what I feel.
mm-hmm. Perfect way
And
to
I
put it.
feel, I feel men look at me more respectfully now. Even,
Absolutely.
even, even they're not even non-Muslims. They still give me that kind of respect, where I feel good.
Absolutely. See,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. MashaAllah. Yeah, we're definitely doing a live stream on my channel, and that's what we're gonna
Hmm.
talk about, the hijab and
Yeah.
everything. That's definitely what we're doing.
We will, inshallah,
Inshallah,
do that.
inshallah. Um, I got
So
like
I
maybe
think
5 more minutes,
yeah,
unless you want to
I
end it
think you
now.
have to go and pray your asr, isn't
I
it?
I do. It's
Yeah.
about it passed. It's been 10 minutes, but that's. I didn't want to end the stream abruptly. I really liked what we were talking about. Allah
That's
subhanahu wa
absolutely
ta'ala will forgive me. Astaghfirullah.
So if
Um,
we just take, if anyone has like few questions, maybe quick questions. Let me see if anyone have any questions.
don't
Uh,
forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Check me
yeah,
out.
please everyone go to brother's channel. I'm gonna share your link in the description box. Um,
Jazakallahu khairan.
after once I upload this, inshallah.
Problem.
So go ahead and subscribe to brother's channel because we,
Must not to get the light down.
I mean,
Yep.
brother, you give out some good content on your channel, mashallah.
Jazakallahu khairan. I appreciate that, and I want to say, I say it a lot in videos, but when I hear, you know, comments from you and other, fellow Muslim brothers and sisters who have been raised Muslim their entire lives, who tell me, right, me, a revert of a little over 3 months, that I helped inspire them back into reading the Quran, or
Mhm.
to strengthen their deen, or to pray again. And you know I still am in disbelief at how I could do that, somebody who just came into being Muslim 3 months ago. But when I cannot tell you, like, the like, it makes me want to tear, like, seriously. The When I talk about the love from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I feel it so deeply in those moments. It means so much to me that
Mashallah.
can't be expressed in words. So I did want to
Thank
say one
you.
thing.
So let me
Um,
just read out this
oh, go
comment.
ahead, go ahead.
What have you learned podcast? Thank you so much. They're going to subscribe to your channel, inshallah. So thank you.
Jazakallahu khairan.
Sorry, you were going to say something, brother.
Oh, yes. I mentioned this in my last two live streams. But to anybody out there that if you're in part of the world and you don't have access to your own Quran, I have copies of the English and the Spanish version of the clear Quran. You do not have to
MashaAllah.
pay. This is all, on me. I have multiple copies. I'm restocking in a couple weeks. I have like two or three of the Spanish left, and I have about 14 or 15 of the English. Um, but I should be restocking actually in a week. So this is, like I
Mhm.
said, this is all from me. So if you subscribe and you check the videos on my channel, all of my information is down in the description on every video. My email, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. So just reach out to me and we'll get you a Quran.
Inshallah. Okay, Umar, is it Umar? Umar, sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Navira, I request you please keep the podcast considering Indian timing. It is 2:45 a.m. in India. I'm so sorry.
Ooh,
Do you know the reason why we kept this timing? Because of the brother. Because
not
brother's
my
based
fault.
in USA, so we are all running on different timings. But
We can do it
inshallah,
earlier or later next time too, inshallah. It's just, especially
inshallah.
today, Friday, I'm always busy. Like I always have a bunch
Sure.
of different things,
We
inshallah.
maybe leave your suggestions, everyone, in the comments. So I will read it later. What sort of timing suits you? But my normal timings are like 5 or 6 p.m. UK time. So
That's
if
like
that
1 o'clock
suits
my
you,
time.
yeah, if that suits you, then that's absolutely good. Next
Yeah, I
time.
mean, on weekends I can most definitely do that. Some days throughout the week I could do it too,
Okay, good.
inshallah.
Because I've got one on Sunday, which my normal set time is 5 o'clock Sunday. And but if you
Ah,
want to do that, that's absolutely fine. No pressure whenever you
so you
have
made an
time.
exception for me. Jazakallahu khairan.
I
Thank you
did
so much.
because yeah, because I really wanted to bring you on the show, just because I really like people who convert to Islam and I like to share their stories. So the whole, not just the ummah, but like people who are trying to come into Islam, they can get benefit from this as well. So that was the whole purpose of you bringing on the show, mashallah. So thank you so much for giving me your time. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry, people. I know it's too late, but next time, inshallah, I'll keep that in mind to have a early one, inshallah.
This is the first of many, Navira and Mikhail.
Inshallah. So
Am I
I'm
saying
coming
your
to
name right?
your Navira. Yes.
Okay, so I have been saying it right. I'm like, I
Yeah.
should have asked her this before.
No, no. No, you said that correctly. But inshallah, I'm coming to your stream next, I guess. Yeah.
Inshallah.
Okay, we'll arrange the timing. And yeah, so we'll take the leave now because I know you have to go for your Asr praying and I have to do my Isha.
Well, thank you, sister. Jazakallahu khairan. It was a blast. I really enjoyed myself. Um, really like that vibe that I felt with that brother that night. I recited the shahada and everything. Like the vibe that I get from you, great vibes. Like
Thank
I don't
you.
know, we vibe really well. I think it was a wonderful time for me. I hope you all enjoyed it, and jazakallahu khairan for coming in as well. And I love all of you. I really do. You all mean so much to me. So jazakallahu khairan. Thank you all so much for the support, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all with many blessings. Inshallah.
Thank
Ameen.
you. Thank you. So I'll let you go. I'm going to close this in a second. So I'll let you go. I know you have to go.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
just hit leave, right?
Jazakallah khair, brother. Thank you.
Wa
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I love you all. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye. So as I said, I'm sure it was a bit late, but we had to make the exception here for the brother. But inshallah, going forward, I'm going to be doing earlier podcast. I have another one, inshallah, this Sunday, which is going to be, I think, 7 p.m. this Sunday because um the lady, the sister I'm interviewing, she's also based, I think she's based in Canada, so she runs on a different timing as well. So that's why it's going to be at 7 p.m. British time. So if you can catch us, that would be lovely. I just see a message here before I close the session. I think it's from Saima. Um, do you have your own podcast? And if you do, do let me know. You can always message me on my Instagram and let me know, or you can also email me. So I'm going to take everyone's leave. Thank you so much for coming here and showing me your support. And yeah, I have a lovely weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.